All right, so are you ready to get a little prickly with me today?
Yeah.
We're diving into the world of the collared peccary. Those javelinas you might see on beware signs out in the Southwest.
Great.
I had no idea how cool these creatures were until I dug into this research, talk about underestimated.
Yeah, what's fascinating is that they're often mistaken for pigs,
Uh-huh.
but they're actually in a completely different family.
Oh.
The Tayassuidae.
Interesting.
They've carved out a niche for themselves across the Americas, from the southwestern U.S. all the way down to Argentina.
So not just a desert dweller, then. I guess that makes sense when you think about it. They're basically a walking paradox.
Right.
Just kind of cute, but with some serious weaponry.
Exactly. Those tusks aren't just for show. They're incredibly sharp and used for both defense and digging up food.
Oh, wow.
Imagine a tiny bulldozer with a serious bite.
I always wondered how they handle all those prickly pear cacti in the desert.
Yeah.
Do they just chomp right through?
You wouldn't want to try it yourself, but they've got incredibly tough mouths.
Wow.
Plus, they're picky eaters, even with cacti. They target the fleshy pads and fruits, which also provide a vital source of moisture in those arid environments.
Okay, so they're resourceful, and they've got those tusks.
Yeah.
Suddenly, those beware signs are making a lot more sense. I bet facing down a whole herd of them would be pretty intimidating.
You're not kidding. Collared peccaries are highly social animals. They live in herds,
Okay.
sometimes called sounders,
Okay.
that can range from a few individuals to over 50.
Wow, 50 peccaries. That's like a neighborhood block party,
Right.
but with way more grunting and squealing.
It's more organized than a party, though.
Oh,
There's a definite pecking order within these herds,
okay.
with dominant individuals leading the way.
Oh, interesting.
They communicate constantly using a complex system of grunts, squeals, clicks, and even scent markings.
So it's not just a random mob. There's actual structure and communication going on. It's like a little society on hooves. What kind of information are they sharing with all that chatter?
They're constantly updating each other on food sources, potential threats, and even individual status within the herd. Some researchers believe those clicks you mentioned might be used to identify individuals, like peccary name tags.
That's amazing. I never would have guessed they had such a complex communication system. It makes you wonder what a peccary conversation would sound like if we could understand it.
I'm sure it would be full of gossip, warnings, and maybe even some peccary jokes.
Maybe we'll crack the peccary code someday.
Right.
But speaking of survival, those herds must be pretty important for fending off predators, right?
Yeah.
Who are they watching out for out there?
Well, it depends on where they live,
Yeah.
but coyotes, mountain lions, bobcats, and even jaguars in some areas are all potential threats.
Okay.
And let's not forget about birds of prey,
Uh-huh.
especially when it comes to young peccaries.
So those babies have to be extra cautious. It's not an easy life being a peccary, even with those tusks and the herd for protection.
Oh. What kind of environment are we talking about here? I know they live in the southwest U.S.,
Right.
but what kind of habitat do they prefer?
They're surprisingly adaptable. You can find them in a variety of habitats.
Okay.
From the scorching deserts of Arizona to the humid forests of South America.
Oh, wow.
The key seems to be having enough dense vegetation to provide cover from predators.
So they're not just desert dwellers then. I guess that makes sense when you think about it. They're basically a walking paradox, right?
Yeah.
Kind of cute, but with some serious weaponry.
You hit the nail on the head.
Yeah.
They're proof that appearances can be deceiving. But even with their toughness, they're not invincible.
Right.
Life in the wild always comes with challenges, especially for those youngsters just starting out.
Yeah, I can imagine a baby peccary trying to navigate a cactus patch.
Oh, yeah.
Must be a prickly childhood. Speaking of little ones, I'm curious about their family life.
What's the story with peccary parenting?
Well, unlike some animals that have specific breeding seasons,
Right.
collared peccaries can have babies throughout the year. It's all about opportunity when food is abundant.
Makes sense.
They take advantage.
Yeah.
Makes sense, right? Gotta feed those hungry mouths.
Yeah, no point in starting a family if there's a grocery shortage.
Right.
So how many little ones are we talking about per litter?
Usually 1 to 4 piglets,
Yeah.
with 2 being the most common.
Okay.
They're born with their eyes open and ready to go,
Right.
following mom around within hours of birth.
Wow, that's impressive.
Yeah.
Talk about hitting the ground running.
Yeah.
Or I guess trotting in this case.
Right?
I bet those early days are crucial for learning all the peccary survival skills.
Absolutely. It's like peccary boot camp.
Right.
The youngsters learn everything from foraging techniques to predator avoidance from their mother and the rest of the herd.
So it's a real community effort when it comes to raising those piglets.
Yeah.
What I find fascinating is how much we often underestimate the intelligence and social complexity of animals like peccaries.
Right.
We tend to focus on the big, charismatic creatures,
Yeah.
but these guys are clearly more than just cute or tough.
You're so right. Every species has its own unique story to tell.
Yeah.
And those stories are often full of surprises.
Absolutely.
The collared peccary is a perfect example.
Okay, confession time before diving into this research. I had some preconceived notions about javelinus.
Yeah.
I definitely fell into the beware sign trap.
Sure.
Are there any other common misconceptions about collared peccaries that we can clear up for our listener?
Oh, there are a few.
Yeah.
One big one is that they're aggressive and dangerous to humans.
Okay.
While they can certainly defend themselves if threatened,
Right.
they generally prefer to avoid confrontation.
Mm.
That beware sign mentality probably stems from their tusks and their tendency to travel in herds.
Yeah, I can see how a group of 50 grunting peccaries might be a little unnerving,
Yeah.
even if they're just minding their own business. So what's the best approach if you happen to encounter a herd on a hike?
Just give them their space.
Okay.
Observe them from a safe distance.
Right.
And appreciate their role in the ecosystem.
Yeah.
No need to run screaming.
Okay, good.
Unless they start tap dancing or something.
Huh. Good to know. I'll keep an eye out for any peccary dance troops.
Right.
Okay. Another misconception I've heard is that they're destructive and harmful to the environment. Like they're just rooting up everything in their path.
Mm-hmm.
What's the truth there?
That's a bit of an oversimplification.
Okay.
As we've discussed, they're actually vital to maintaining healthy ecosystems.
Right.
Their rooting behavior helps aerate the soil, which benefits plant growth.
Mm-hmm.
And those prickly pear pads they love so much,
Yeah.
they actually help spread the seeds through their droppings.
So they're like little gardeners, shaping the landscape as they go.
Exactly.
I'm starting to think we should rename them ecosystem engineers instead of just javelinas.
I like it. It highlights their positive impact, which is often overlooked.
We've talked about their relationships with predators,
Right.
their role in the ecosystem.
Yeah.
But what about their interactions with other species? Are there any surprising partnerships going on in the peccary world?
Actually, yes. They have some fascinating relationships with certain bird species, like the brown jay and the white-tipped dove.
I'm intrigued. Tell me more about these unlikely friendships.
Well, picture this. A herd of peccaries is moving through the underbrush, rooting up the ground,
Yeah.
and stirring up all sorts of insects.
Uh-huh.
The birds have learned to follow along,
Oh.
taking advantage of the easy pickings.
So it's like a peccary-powered buffet for the birds.
Exactly. It's a great example of how different species can benefit from each other's presence,
Right.
even in seemingly unexpected ways.
This deep dive just keeps getting more interesting. I had no idea peccaries were such social butterflies, or I guess social hoofers.
Definitely. They're proving to be much more complex and fascinating than most people realize.
And unfortunately, that complexity often gets overshadowed by the threats they face.
Right.
We touched on predators earlier,
Yeah.
but I know human activity is also having a huge impact on their populations.
Uh-huh.
What are the biggest challenges they're facing these days?
Sadly, it's the same story for so many species.
Right.
Habitat loss is a major concern
Yeah.
as human development continues to encroach on peccary territory.
Yeah, I can see how that would be a problem.
Right.
Fragmentation of their habitat could disrupt their movement patterns, their access to food,
Absolutely.
and even their social interactions.
You're absolutely right. And it's not just habitat loss.
Okay.
They also face threats from hunting, vehicle collisions,
gosh.
and even disease transmission from domesticated pigs.
It's a lot for any species to contend with.
Yeah.
It makes you realize how fragile the balance of nature really is, and how interconnected everything is.
It really is.
But it's not all doom and gloom, right?
No.
There must be some efforts underway to protect these creatures and their habitats.
Absolutely. There are several organizations working tirelessly to conserve collared peccary populations.
Oh, that's good.
They're conducting research to better understand their needs, educating the public about their importance,
Okay.
and advocating for policies that protect their habitats.
That's encouraging to hear.
Yeah.
What about on an individual level? What can our listener do to help make a difference?
Even small actions can have a big impact. Supporting conservation organizations, advocating for responsible land use planning,
Okay.
and reducing your own environmental footprint are all great ways to get involved.
And maybe spreading the word about these amazing creatures, right?
Absolutely.
The more people understand and appreciate collared peccary,
Right.
the more likely we are to protect them.
Exactly. Sharing knowledge is a powerful tool for conservation.
I feel like we've gone on quite a journey today.
Yeah.
From those initial beware signs to a whole new understanding of the collared peccary.
I
They're resilient, adaptable, intelligent, social. I'm definitely a fan now.
I'm glad to hear it, and I think you've captured the essence of what makes them so fascinating.
Okay, one last question before we wrap up this part of our deep dive.
Sure.
We've talked a lot about their adaptability,
Right.
but how might they be affected by the looming challenge of climate change in the long run?
That's a great question, and one that's on the minds of many scientists.
Yeah.
How will they handle shifting temperatures, changes in rainfall patterns,
Right.
and the potential disruption of their food sources? These are all crucial questions that will determine their future.
Yeah, it really makes you think, doesn't it, about, the bigger picture.
It's a sobering thought, but also a call to action.
Right.
The more we understand about the collared peccary and its vulnerabilities, the better equipped we are to help ensure its survival.
Well, I think we've given our listener plenty to chew on today, so to speak.
Right.
We've busted some myths, uncovered hidden complexities,
Yeah.
and even sparked a new appreciation for those beware signs.
Hopefully we've inspired a sense of wonder and a desire to learn even more about this often overlooked species.
Absolutely. So as we wrap up this deep dive,
Okay.
what are the key takeaways you hope our listener will walk away with?
I think the most important message is that collared peccaries are much more than meets the eye.
Yeah.
They're intelligent social animals with a vital role to play in their ecosystems.
They're a perfect example of how nature is full of surprises. Right?
Yes.
You might just see a pig-like creature at first glance, but there's a whole world of complexity and fascinating adaptations beneath the surface.
Exactly. And those adaptations are being put to the test in a world facing unprecedented changes.
Right.
Climate change, habitat loss, human encroachment.
Yeah.
These are all challenges that peccaries and countless other species are grappling with right now.
It highlights the interconnectedness of it all, doesn't it?
It does.
The fate of these animals is ultimately intertwined with our own actions.
It's a stark reminder that we have a responsibility to be stewards of the natural world,
Yeah.
not just for the sake of the collared peccary, but for the health and balance of the entire planet.
So what can our listener do to make a difference? We've talked about supporting conservation efforts, but are there other ways to get involved?
Absolutely. Even small actions can have a ripple effect.
Okay.
Educating yourself and others about the challenges facing peccaries is a great starting point.
Right.
You can also advocate for responsible land use policies in your community
Yeah.
and make conscious choices to reduce your own environmental footprint.
Those are all great suggestions. It's empowering to know that we can all play a role in protecting these incredible creatures and their habitats.
Every effort counts when it comes to conservation.
Absolutely.
Whether it's donating to a conservation organization, volunteering your time, or simply spreading awareness about the importance of biodiversity, we can all make a difference.
Well said. I think we've given our listener a lot to think about today.
Yeah.
And hopefully a newfound appreciation for the collared peccary.
I hope so.
From their complex social lives to their crucial role in the ecosystem, they're truly remarkable creatures.
And there's still so much more to discover about them. Research is ongoing, constantly revealing new insights into their behavior, adaptations, and the challenges they face.
That's the beauty of science and exploration, isn't it? There's always more to learn, more to understand,
It is.
and more to appreciate about the natural world.
There is.
So to our listener out there, keep exploring, keep asking questions, and keep an eye out for those beware signs. There's a whole lot more to the collared peccary than meets the eye.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
Yes, thank you for joining us.
Until next time, stay curious.